the Our World podcast. It's our world. It's his world. It's Michael's world. It's your world. It's our world.
I sent it to you. What they wrote about it is really nice. Yeah. Very inclusive podcast.
Yeah, I want to talk to everybody. I've had
Yeah.
people comment on there that we are, we might as well just get started. Are we good,
Yeah.
Michael?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Yeah. I've had people comment on there that that we're liberal, that we're, we're lefties and all that. And it's like, just because I had someone on the podcast that's a lefty or liberal doesn't mean that I am. It doesn't mean that Michael is, because I don't really tend to be ultra right or ultra left. I'm just kind of like, what's the issue? I can tell you how I feel about an issue. Other people put me in a bubble and they say that our podcast is, right or left leaning. And it's like, no, we talked about an issue. I don't know. You put me in a bubble.
Today I was at lunch with somebody who was asking about my campaign, and he was telling me about how left our representatives are and how they were looking for someone more moderate. And at the ripe old age of 51, I'm feeling a little more moderate now. And when I was younger, that wasn't the case. But now I feel like since I've been around, I've kind of seen what's going on in the world and in Denver generally. It's gotten a lot worse. And I think a lot of the friction between lefties or righties needs to be bridged. And I think I'm a voice that can bring that in. Because I'm willing to listen to anybody, even if they do or do not agree with what I'm saying. And
Do you want to silence it really quick?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
No big deal. It happens. Mine's actually, I forgot mine's not on silent either. Boom, it is now. No, it's a good point that you know, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's how I am. I think, Michael, that's kind of how you are too. A lot more open-minded. In fact, our podcast that we had last week with, I had a friend of mine on, his name's Justin.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about the same thing. In fact, the whole conversation was about that. The entire conversation about bridging the gaps, compromises. We all have to live next to each other. We all have to coexist. I know that's a cliche, right? The bumper stickers coexist, but it's the truth.
It is the truth. And right now, I think it's more important than ever. My partner is a lot more conservative than I am. We've been together 23 years, and I think because of his conservatism, we have been able to survive, which, says a lot for any relationship now, but especially for a GLBT relationship, especially with the men. And we've learned he's non-political, and I don't really like football. And he's a big Dallas Cowboy fan, so he said a lot of his exes would piss him off because they were pro-Broncos. And I don't argue with him when it comes to football, and he doesn't argue with me when it comes to politics. And so we've bridged some gaps there. It's in our everyday life, and I think more people have to sit there and listen to each other. I was on Facebook today, and one of my friends that grew up where I grew up, which is Southwest Denver, that area is a little more conservative than most of Denver because, you have Beaumar, you have Pinehurst Estates, it's one of the neighborhoods that hasn't had to be gentrified as much because a lot of the people that grew up there have stayed there. It's not very migrant, and people tend to want to have their families there. And so I think it's really important to listen to some of the more conservative and liberal people, because I think our voices all have to be heard. It's real important right now. I am seeing a big fraction of people and they go into their own little bubbles and they don't want to get out. And I think it's time to burst the bubbles and have those conversations that are harder to have without blocking each other or, calling each other names. I think what I learned in high school and middle school social studies needs to come back. People used to have those conversations. People used to work together. And the only way for us to survive what's going on nationally, internationally, or in town is to talk to each other and have an open dialogue.
Yeah, you raised a great point, like relationships. You said in your relationships, there's compromises.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's compromises between my wife and I in every relationship, right? You have to, or you won't survive. So what's the difference? Why don't we compromise with our neighbors just because they have a different political belief or a different religious belief? The compromise is key to success.
It is. And compromising will bring out growth too. And Denver has to grow. We're sliding back a little bit. There's an excess of homelessness. There's an excess of violence. We're setting our wonderful city back by not having some compromise.
Okay, so I want to hear about your agendas and what you want to do as a politician. First, can you remind me what you're running for?
I'm running for Denver City Council at large. So what I've seen with some candidates or some people that are in office is they focus on their clique or the people that think like them. I'm wanting at large, you have to serve all of Denver and not just a fraction. There are some parts of Denver that get focused on more, and I want to go into the parts that aren't being focused as much and learn from those people. I also want to feature the diversity that's not being featured. We have lots of different fractions in the city that aren't being admired. And it's time to start showing Colorado, Denver, the world, how special our city is. People are focusing on a lot of the negativity, and I just said some negative things about the city. That's reality, but I think the only way to empower our city is to empower the small facets in our corridors that aren't being featured.
Give me some examples of these things.
We have a pretty big Indian community that's over kind of by like Leedsdale, Holly type area. Do you ever hear about them? I know I don't hear about them very often.
Like Indian from India.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or like there's some great Ethiopian restaurants. You may hear about the one on Santa Fe, but do you hear about the ones that are like ingrained in the city? I don't hear about them as much. Or, there might be the little bodega with paletas over off of Morrison and Sheridan that has like the best homemade ice cream. People don't feature that. I just think some of the smaller voices need to have someone bringing their voice to the table. I mean, including, there was around a month ago, I was in front of a local establishment that was GLBT focused, and there I got assaulted. I was okay, but I had heard of other people getting assaulted at that same location and nothing was done. The police didn't have me do a report. They didn't have the location to a report. They didn't do anything.
Who was assaulting people?
It was, I don't want to generalize, but it may have been someone who was hanging out with some of the homeless people around the area.
Okay.
And I think they were just focusing, there may have been some drug use going on with their circle, and they were just bringing a negative spin to a group of people that they knew that they could be negative with and not have any repercussions by the city.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm also curious because you also said GLBT, but I thought it was LGBTQ.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was
start with the G. Is that to emphasize what's more important to you? Or more or I should say more closer to home for you, more important.
I think it comes with age.
Mm-hmm. What, you're just forgetting letters?
No, the original spearheaders in history were it started out as GLBT, and then later on in history the L became more affluent, and then they added the Q and the I and the T. But when I first started doing activism in the early 90s, we went by GLBT, and I was president of the LBGTA at CU, but before that, everything I heard was GLBT, and I think it's a historical meaning to me.
Okay, you're just getting old, man. You got to get with the times.
Yeah, well, you have to see the gray hair, man.
I was out with a bunch of guys one time. We were eating lunch at a place, and of course, a couple of the guys were always hitting on the waitresses, right? And one of them asked her, what's going to make the world a better place? Just stupid things guys say to talk to girls.
Right.
And she said, this girl's probably early 20s. She said, all the baby boomers, the world will be a better place when all the baby boomers die. This episode is brought to you by the Josh Henry Workshop, where craftsmanship meets purpose. Whether you're in the kitchen slicing up dinner, out in the woods, or just need a reliable everyday carry, the Josh Henry Workshop has you covered. Every knife is handmade and hand-forged in the good old USA in North Carolina by a veteran-owned small business that puts heart, heritage, and pride into every blade. Michael, what do you think about the Josh Henry Workshop knives?
Jeremiah, I love the quality of the Josh Henry Workshop knives. These are not mass-produced tools. They are custom pieces built to last, with real attention to detail. So if you're looking for a knife that works as hard as you do, check out the Josh Henry Workshop. You'll find your new favorite blade, and you'll be supporting a small business that truly cares about the craft. Visit the Josh Henry Workshop on either Instagram or Facebook at Josh Henry Workshop to learn more or to place a custom order today.
Ouch.
And the way she said it, and I thought about it, and I was like, wow, she has a point, because from the younger generation's point of view, things don't change and things do not get better because older people lock in their mentality, right? Or the way they look at things. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. But it's something I really don't agree on. With what we do with our company, we focus on going to nursing homes and helping them with dental care, and that can increase their life.
No, I'm not saying.
Oh no,
it was an example, right?
Oh no,
things don't change in society because old people, they lock in the way they look at things, right? Their point of view of things.
I think when I was 20, I thought the same way too.
I bet we all did.
Yeah.
So on that note, how are you going to have an open mind for everybody who's young, 18, teenagers, kids, all the way to the elderly people?
I think it's still about dialogue and discussions, and I was president of Marriage Equality Colorado, and I remember when I first brought that to Denver from California, I talked to our 2 GLBT politicos, and they told me marriage equality is never going to happen in Colorado. And I told them that every good civil rights movement takes around 10 years to fruition. 12 years later, we got marriage equality in Colorado. But that being said, when we started with marriage equality, we used to do something called a coffee table book. And it just it was really easy reading, and it was just quick points that people could agree on for marriage. And I would think it would be better to go back to the coffee table mentality, because the only way to make change or to open people's minds, whether they're 20 or 80, is to have a good, quick, easy session in front of someone and trying to address issues that we may not think we agree on, and may find a middle man agreement when it comes to our differences. I think when most people just sit down and look each other in the eye, that they tend to be able to agree on something and find something that makes them similar.
Absolutely. So if you had to pick, let's say for your voters, if you had to pick the 3 top items that are the most important to you, I know there's probably more. I'm not putting a cap on it. I'm just saying, what are your top 3?
Housing, safety, and healthcare.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Seems like they're on the top of your mind. You didn't have to think about it.
Yeah,
That's great.
The safety thing I didn't think about until I was assaulted, and I saw how the system wasn't working for the people in general that were involved. I had a cousin who is really conservative, had something similar happen to her, and now we're working together to kind of find some ways to help that through the system. And I never thought I would agree with her on anything, because she is so far right and I'm so far left. And it's interesting that we both went through something and we started talking about it, and now we're working together to make some change. We're never going to agree politically, but we're going to agree in that one issue that something has to be changed. Healthcare, I've worked with healthcare my whole life. I think I was brought to this world to help people to get find different avenues to get better health care. I focus on dental, but I've helped people get different benefits, get different grants. I've helped different organizations get grants to further their voice or their reach when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah, tell me more about mobile dental.
Okay, so we got towards the end of my father's practice at Martinez Dental. We had a lab guy that was just going and doing some dentures at a nursing home. Want my dad to start going and doing dentures at one home, and then my partner came in, and we started to see that there was such a need that we started to utilize the need and go into nursing homes. That's how mobile dental started. Well, he got so good at doing the nursing home program that I got bored. So I started to look for other ways to help dental mobily. And I talked to my friend who was in charge of New Genesis homeless shelter. And we started going into the homeless shelter and seeing people there. Then we started going to other homeless shelters. And then next thing you know, someone from Head Starts called me. So we started doing stuff with migrant Head Starts. and then got sober homes, halfway houses. I mean, now we go and see people who don't always have transportation, funding to go to the office, or are apprehensive because sometimes when people go into public offices, they get treated differently if they're homeless, or if they may or may not be intoxicated, or if they're a person that doesn't speak English. We do go and help migrant communities too. So I've just found a way to help people that don't always have a way to help themselves get access. And we go all over the state. We go today, our team was in Eagle. I'll be at the Pueblo Rescue Mission tomorrow. We go to Durango, Alamosa. We go all over the state and we help people. There was one case, we started him at one of the homeless shelters and he got kicked out. He was fighting with someone, but we had started his denture, and I keep everyone's number in my phone and I text them mine, which may not be the smartest thing to do, but it's the only way that some of these people can get a hold of me. And so we did an impression on 3rd and Broadway, and another day he was at Civic Center Park, and we did his denture try-in, and then we delivered it, and then I went and bought him a beer at 404 Lounge. I was like, let's deliver it here. We'll celebrate with the beer. I was done with work, and I'm not the dentist, so I can do stuff like that. But that's kind of, we've built a reputation, and we're getting calls every day for people that want us to go and serve them. And we have churches calling us now. I mean, so many of these other companies that were doing what we were doing have stopped doing it because Medicaid isn't paying as much. Grant funding is depleting, and I'm just finding a way to help people. And sometimes we don't get rich quick by doing that because we don't always get paid. But seeing someone smile and sometimes change your life or be able to get a job, that is fruitful for me.
That's good, man. That sounds rewarding. So I've heard of like mobile mechanics and mobile pet groomers and pet washing services, and mobile haircuts is a big one. People they go to like businesses and the companies, that's something a perk for the employees. But explain to me, like, is it a van that has like equipment in it that comes to these places?
We looked at the van, and we were going to buy one, and then COVID happened, and we wouldn't be able to social distance in a van. And then we also started talking to directors of nursing homes, and they didn't like the van idea because a lot of their people, some of them couldn't even get out of bed. Or the wheelchairs, it was really hard to get them up and down in the van. So we actually have, I call it an operatory in a box. So when you go to the dental office, it has all the different hoses and it has the machines that make noise, and you have the suction and you have air, water.
Yeah.
Well, we have ours, it's in a little suitcase and it rolls into the facility, and then we take all of the different parts out, and we have an operatory that we can do work anywhere. We did extractions in front of Impact Humanity. It was the old homeless clothing shop. We would do extractions at the light rail station over there by 30th and Downing, or Walton, all the time. And so during COVID,
where would you would go in a building somewhere, right? Or
Not always.
Okay. So a van would be ideal eventually.
Maybe. We like our setup. Vans get expensive. You have to upkeep it. The dental assistant has to have a CDL, so you have to pay them more. And then with what a lot of people don't realize is, in a van, since you have an operatory, you have water going through the walls because that's how you get, the air water syringe.
It can freeze then.
Then it can freeze. So you have to put it has to be in a garage where it's heated 24 hours a day. And that gets pricey. So what we do is, we can come and do your dental work right here with our little machine. And we're not paying a lot of overhead because we clear our lines every night. We clean all of our tubes through. It wouldn't be as costly as a van. We prefer it that way. And like some of the sober home people, they don't feel comfortable having, because a lot of sober homes are in some affluent areas. The owners buy them. They all live in a nice little home. Well, if the neighbor saw a van pulling up, they're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then they see all these people coming in and, oh no, they're getting help from the government. Some neighbors may not like that. But us just showing up and going in with what looks like a suitcase helps keep them safe, and they want to get more work done. We even have a dental chair that folds up into a suitcase that we just walk into the facility.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you're waiting for the bus and this guy's over here pulling someone's tooth out on the side of the road?
I don't think it's like that, right, Antonio?
We did do that during COVID. We went to Impact Humanity. There was
I was hoping you were going to say no, but
yeah, we did do that. Now we can go inside, but we couldn't go inside places, and we still kept our service going. We were like knocking on tents. Hey, do you want to get dental? And we would line them all up, and we have a portable digital x-ray machine that hooks up to our laptop. Our x-ray machine is like this big.
Wow.
So we would literally set up on the street and help homeless people because we couldn't social distance at nursing homes, so we were like shut out for like 9 months from nursing homes. That was like our bread and butter, and so the homeless population became like family. I walk on the street and like homeless people are like, "Hey, how's it going?" And people look at me like, "What?" And it's because we've helped so many that they trust us, and a lot of them only want to go where we're at.
So I assume these people do not pay for services.
No. One thing, although some people may say no, Colorado's really good at getting people benefits. If you go and you apply and you make less than $18,000 a year, you can get on Medicaid, and we have a lot of good places that get people on the benefits. And if anyone ever wants to find out where, I know this doesn't have to do with mobile dental, but I know where you can go and get benefits. You can always call me, just not after 2 a.m, guys. 303-945-5231.
You want that broadcasted?
I broadcast my phone number everywhere.
Okay.
Yep. I really like. I have people that I've done political stuff with, and I still...
You can just block somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've kept my phone number forever, and I always said if somebody like harasses me, I'm just going to block them somehow.
Yeah. I've only had one harassing phone call, and it was some guy that I met at the homeless shelter that we were making dentures for, and he would call me at like 2 a.m. all wired and crazy.
Yeah.
So... that's why I say don't call after 2 a.m, and I'm good. And usually people are fine. I mean, if someone wants to harass me, then they can. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. My message isn't going to change, and the services I provide aren't going to change either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So where do you get funding from? You from the state mostly?
We
or?
bill Medicaid. There are
So
some.
it is Medicaid mostly.
Yeah, mostly Medicaid. Now Medicare this year, the Medicare supplemental plans are better than I've ever seen them before. And I know how to get people on them. People that have had them before, I'm telling them switch right now because the federal government has put a lot of funding in the Medicare supplemental plans. Contrary to popular belief, our federal funding source is doing very good to the senior population right now. So, I'm telling people get on these plans because even if Medicaid pays for something and you're not qualified for 7 years for a new set of dentures, try your Medicare supplemental plan, and you could. I tell people you can have one set for each girlfriend, but it's true. Sometimes people's teeth break, they lose them. You can always get another pair, and with the plans that I know how to get people on, we can make sure they have a happy smile.
That's good.
And then they're smiling while they're voting for me.
So yeah, I mean, healthcare. You said it, and you have been in the healthcare field ever since I've known you. I mean, you've been dealing with healthcare in one way or another, mostly in the dental field,
Right.
but also in the medical field.
Yeah, I grew up in the field, and I just found ways to help people. I was born to do that.
Yeah. It's rewarding. It's more rewarding than my job.
Well, hey, if you're a trainer, you can help me reward by getting me some muscles, man.
I'm not a trainer.
Oh,
no,
man.
I work in construction, and you're always getting yelled at. You're never on schedule. You're always over budget, and it's not a rewarding field. But
One of my best friends did
keep
that.
society moving forward, I guess.
Yeah, she was building malls, and like San Francisco and airports and stuff. And she said it was always hard because they always wanted more money, and they were never on time. And then she was on a timeline, and that's what she was. She probably yelled at you before,
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
No, people. I'm decent at what I do, so I don't get yelled at a lot.
Good.
Put that out there.
Yeah, me neither.
So yeah, you also mentioned homelessness. That's a tough one, man, because I think a lot of it stems around drug use these days. I remember when I was younger, I used to notice that because I worked for a temp agency at one point. I was dispatching out of a temp. I had 2 jobs at that time, and that job was dispatching. Right, they come, you get the orders from companies that, hey, I need this many guys or this many workers to do this, and you dispatch that many people. And most of the people at that time, that was in the I think the early 2000s. Most of the people at that time that were homeless, that came in to get those temp jobs, they had mental health problems. So now I see, because I have a building down on Colfax, it has some stores and some apartments in it, and so I'm down there a lot. And the apartments are studio apartments, so it's the people that rent the studio apartments are probably people that can't afford 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or a house or something like that. So I get some of those people, and some of those people have been homeless before that rent from me. And most of what I've seen is a lot less mental health. There's still probably a portion that has mental health, but now there's a lot more homeless people that are on drugs, who were people like normal people who didn't have mental health issues that just succumbed to the drugs.
They have to stay awake.
They have to what?
They have to stay awake. That's a very sad part about the homeless epidemic is it can turn into drug use because they have to be on their toes, or they, people can steal from them, they can mug them. It's a really dire situation. And right now, I mean, we have a lot of services. I think one thing is, now that we're going to have less federal funding in general, I think the community has to get together and maybe, I mean, the way it was in early America is people would fund their communities. And I think we need to start working together to help bring more funding and stop relying as much on government. People probably are going to not like that statement. It is good to have government help people, and that's really important to have those funds available. But now I think as communities, we're going to have to find other ways to be more creative and help each other. I was at a friend's place. I'm on the planning committee for the Pachuco Ball, and I went to a Zoot Suit place and I bought one last night. Well, the guy who owns it, he's gonna tear down his shop and build 150 low-income housing units because he knows that's what's important. And I'm sure there's funding available through grants and stuff, but he's starting to see the bigger picture too. And I think a lot more people have to start looking on finding ways that we can work together. The government is always going to be a good source of help, but we need to see that the community has to help each other so we can help ourselves, because it's only going to get harder.
So low-income housing, I think, is a good one, because there are people legitimately who are not going to make as much money as other people.
Right.
And they live in a city where you have to make a certain amount of money to hold the minimum standard.
That is true.
And what do you do with those people? Because they could be on the cusp of, okay, if there was low-income housing available, I could afford it and I could live and be a functioning person in society. I could get a job. Maybe I don't make as much money, or maybe, I'm on disability or whatever it is. Or now I'm in a metropolis and I can't afford anything. Now I'm homeless. And then, I think the portion I was talking about earlier of people that are using a lot of drugs, I think a good portion of them use drugs and then lose a lot of stuff in life, lose their job, lose their residence, and then they become homeless. But I think there is another portion that wants to be functional.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants, even people who are on the street right now doing drugs, a lot of them don't want to be there. They'd rather have a bed and a kitchen and a TV and they'd rather have that. Human beings don't want to be sleeping on a sidewalk.
Do you remember the commercials when we were talking, when there was the big issue about arresting people that were sleeping in parks or whatever? Do you remember when that issue was happening?
I remember they kept tearing down their places. There was a period where they kept doing that, right? Like you couldn't even keep it up for a period of time like they do now. Now they tear them down, but they let them stay there for 6 months, and then they're like, "Come on, guys!" They warn them, and then they give them a date, and then they roll in there, and those people have an opportunity to take what they want, and usually they leave a bunch of stuff they don't want in those cases. But I remember when they used to just tear them down quickly.
Well, yeah, and that commercial where they were talking about not having that issue, I remember there was a homeless lady on there, and she's like, "I'm homeless." She's like, "I don't want to sleep in a park. I want resources." And, that stuck in my brain. And I've been in the field so much with that demographic that most people are wanting to better themselves. And
it's like workers in Aspen, Colorado. There's a lot of workers in Aspen, Colorado that wash dishes in restaurants, that clean the streets, that, cut grass, and they're not rich. I mean, you can't live in Aspen unless you're rich, right?
Right.
There's even an airport in the small town of Aspen, which is nuts. You can fly a commercial airline into Aspen, Colorado, which I get it, but at the same time, it doesn't make any sense because it's a small town. But you have people there who do all the small jobs, even though it's a rich town. That's why you go to Aspen. Just outside of the town, there's trailer parks. There's, smaller homes. There's areas where there's not like $20 million mansions. And, that makes sense for the needs they have, which would be the same for any city. Like,
like Boulder. North Boulder is totally different than Central Boulder.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important that every facet lives together because we all have a purpose in our community.
Yeah, but zero is not a good purpose.
No, zero is not a good purpose. And I am hopeful that Denver can go from at least 0 to 30. Because that 30 is going to increase positivity in our city. And I think there are a lot of people that are fed up with what's going on, and it's time to give people hope. And I know that's a cliche when it comes to politics. Everyone talks about hope and change. And we do need a little more of that. We are in a good city. I'm not saying it's bad. Denver's a great city, but it can do better. And the only way to do better is to give people hope, and that's to give people more resources, more housing. I know our mayor is wanting to do that. I also know he has liked to spend too much on something he couldn't fix. On some of the buildings, he spent too much money, and now they're selling them for $1 because he didn't have enough money to fix. He didn't look at the property before he purchased it, so that set us back with his agenda. And
so what happened? I haven't heard about this. What is this?
So our mayor, don't quote me on the prices, but I believe he spent $9 million on a building like off of Colfax, and inside there was so much work that had to be done that he couldn't afford to pay for the work to be done.
Was this for like low income housing? Is that okay?
Yeah. He had this big ideology that got him voted in, where he can house a lot of the unhoused people, and that's what I think everyone wants. But he didn't think before he purchased. He just purchased a few buildings that couldn't be refurbished, and now there's one, they put it on sale for $1, maybe 3 months ago.
What?
Yeah, I could pull that up. I'll send it to you.
But they already had the buyer.
Oh sure. It's been months.
That's not $1 to anybody that's not open to anybody. They already had the buyer. They probably had a deal.
I'm sure they had the buyer. I think it may have been the media wanting to, put our mayor down a peg or two.
Why would he sell for $1? There must have been some contract where they agreed. So is it going to eventually be developed as low-income housing by this new person?
That would be...
That's the only way they would sell for $1.
That would be a question to the mayor. My uncle's running for mayor, so he would have the answer for that, because that was one thing that
I think I've seen something on that. He's Martinez too, right?
Yeah.
What's his first name?
Aurelio.
Yeah. Tell him to come on here, man.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ran
before. Treat him good.
Yeah, he's
treat
nice.
Everybody good.
He's cool.
Yeah.
And he's not totally left, so it could change your reputation. No,
I don't care.
Kidding.
I don't care who he is.
Yeah, I'm
We're
just
called the Our World Podcast. We talk to everybody.
Yeah,
It's
and-
our world. It's your world, my world, everybody's world.
But yeah, so with homeless, I think it's time to stop jumping into contracts and maybe just start digging a little deeper before we make decisions, because the decisions that have been made haven't fully been positive on getting people housed. And it's time to, I mean, it might have been cheaper to just dump the property and build something new. But I don't know what happened with some of those contracts, but they did not do their due diligence. And sometimes it's better, instead of just making a decision right away.
Well, I wonder what the details were, right? I mean, it had to be something pretty drastic.
So I just looked up, I'm reading this article over here. It says they purchased a building for $9 million, and they were going to renovate it for low-income housing. And it turned out that it needed possible structural repairs. So, and then Denver was going to do the work themselves, but instead decided to sell the building for $10.
$10.
This says.
Okay.
According to the request for proposals, it would be sold with a covenant requiring the property to operate as income-restricted housing for 99 years.
See, they're still following the plan. Yeah, there's no way you can sell a property like that for $10 and not have a contract out there or a requirement that, yeah, for the buyer. Yeah, that makes sense. See, he's still on track, man.
I'm hoping
They just made a mistake. They didn't find the structural stuff.
right.
So that must have been in the inspection phase that didn't get caught.
Yeah, well, sometimes when your buddies are doing the inspection, they may not do it as thoroughly.
Who did the inspection? You don't know.
Oh, I've heard, but yeah, I'm not
Now you're
gonna.
being a conspiracy theorist.
I'm
Let's
not
hear
gonna
it.
call anyone out.
What
but
did you hear? Come on.
No, it's just just sometimes you give government contracts to people that are your friends.
It happens.
Yep.
It happens. Yeah.
There's no conspiracy there. That's just life.
Yep. And sometimes they're the more capable, right? Could
Yeah.
be someone you have a relationship with, maybe, or someone you're comfortable. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can of worms right there.
Right.
Yeah.
I know my ex-brother-in-law is a great electrician, and so I refer him to some people, but I've been told that, he cuts corners sometimes. So, I just tell everyone, do your due diligence with whoever you're working with.
Man, you just put them on blast, man.
Yeah.
Don't mess with Antonio, man. He's gonna name drop you.
Hey, I didn't say any names.
Let's see. What have I done?
I've had 3 brother-in-laws, so
Oh, okay.
it could be anybody.
Good point.
Oh wait, now I just put my sister on blast. Oh.
Yeah, you did.
No, but it's life.
It is.
Love my family, and everyone has something to say about anybody. No one is pure. Everyone has a life. Everyone has a past, and that's why we all have to work together. And I think it's really important for us to slash our T's and dot our I's with whatever we do.
Yeah. So you also mentioned safety as one of your other top 3. I have noticed a big change in Colorado, Denver specifically, in the metro area. I mean, I remember when I first moved here from California in the 90s. I mean, if anybody, they were so hard on crime. You couldn't do anything. You were just getting in trouble like that. And now it's I've seen police officers, because I've evicted a couple people out of my places, and they have to have the sheriff come and the police come, while you're evicting someone, because they're standing over there cussing you out and flipping you off and all that. And then, and as we're bringing the stuff out, there's needles and these are the kind of people I had to evict.
Yeah.
It wasn't evicting a grandma or somebody who's, doing the right things. and or pipes, the glass pipes falling out, and you're like, I'm waiting for the cop to be like, hold up, stop everything, and start collecting evidence. So I look at the cop, and the cop's just like looks away, and just like, they don't flinch, man. They find things all the time on people, and they're just like, or they tell them throw it away, or it's just like it's a totally different world now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not the cops' fault. It's the change in policy's fault.
But I think they find so much of it every day that they couldn't arrest all these people. They wouldn't have a place for them, and then they're just getting charged with low-level crimes anyways.
I had a friend who was downtown, and he was walking by, and then some guy was smoking meth, and the cop was right there, and he asked the cop, well, why aren't you doing anything? And the cop said, we can only arrest if they're distributing, not if they're using. I don't know if that's a true law. I'm just telling you what my friend told me. But, and I can see, I mean, that I think things have gotten so rampant that they have to pick and choose their battles, and they're just being smarter about it. Instead of working harder, they're going to work smarter. And I'm sure mentally they know their districts and they know who's doing what. Our system is set up to be pretty efficient, and they know what's going on in their neighborhoods. So, but I do feel like maybe if we weren't wanting to let everyone go and just have people do the time for the crime. I know I did. I got 2 DUIs when I was 27, and I wasn't given leniency, but that was in the early 90s. Like they I learned from it. I was lucky that my newly boyfriend at the time, 23 years ago, made me quote to him what I learned in my classes. And he's
early 90s or 23 years ago?
23 years ago.
Carlos,
yeah.
Yeah.
He made me quote for him what I learned in class each day. And what lesson I learned from it. So most of the people I was in class with were like, I have to be here. Well, he made me see it as like a class I was taking at school and what I was going to learn from it. And he even gave me homework, and I'm glad that I did that because it made me take accountability for who I am, and it turned me into a better person. And now I'm wanting to make Denver accountable. If we could even as legislators look and make some different laws. So I know during one of my friends was part of the SWAT team, and when they were having the riots, he got shot, and people were bashing his daughter, who was talking about how bad it was for the police that were being affected by the riots. They were bashing her for sticking up for the police officers, and a lot of society has gotten less admiration for the people that serve us and protect us every day. And I can't speak on individuals in any fracture that add negativity, but I can say that most people that go into government, whether it's firemen, legislative, police officer, state jobs, they go in because they want to help the community. And I know a lot of police officers that have gone in to help make positive change, and if someone is being disrespectful, and get treated that way, because I know when I was inebriated, I wasn't always nice to the people arresting me. And so I had to be treated a certain way too. But I didn't see it as negative. I saw it as punishment for doing something bad.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's this disdain towards our leaders in general, because I think there's a mistrust over everything. I mean, I can name off a handful of
Right.
issues, but I think overall, I think it's the main thing is a mistrust. I think our current administration, our current president, has a lot to do with that. I think he's created a lot of mistrust and
Animosity.
yeah. Again, I'm not on the left by any means, and
Right.
I'm not hardcore extreme right either, but I'm definitely not on the left. I think you know that about me.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm still open-minded.
Right.
I say that because when people hear us talk, they think, oh, he's a liberal, and I was like, I'm not a liberal, not at all. But this guy is full of shit, and he's not helping us in society.
He's putting on a show, in my opinion, because that's what he's good at.
Yeah.
He's good at putting on a show.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you saw the movie about him, he even put on a show to his best friend and stabbed him in the back towards the end.
I did not see the movie about him. What movie is that?
God, what's the name of his game show? What was that called?
What?
Where he fired people.
Yes.
Oh man, I can't.
The
remember.
movie was
The Apprentice.
same.
The Apprentice.
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
what it
the
is.
movie was called The Apprentice.
I used to watch it too.
It was
Yeah.
about him in the 80s and how he became a millionaire.
It got boring after a while, though.
Yeah.
I watched
Yeah.
it in the beginning. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. You're fired. But then after a while, I was like, you're fired. You're fired. You're fired. And I'm like, he wouldn't even be there for the challenges on the show.
Yeah.
He would just come in his boardroom, and then he'd listen to his people. Okay, what happened? What happened? Okay, I should fire who? Okay, you're fired.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you're not even involved. I'm like, how does that make sense?
Well, if you see The Apprentice, and I'm not plugging Donald Trump, but this movie shows his mindset and how he got there.
What is the name of it again?
The Apprentice.
Oh, it's called The Apprentice.
It's called The Apprentice.
Oh.
It's about him in the 80s and how he
Was
rose.
that before or after The Apprentice show?
Way before. It was before Trump Towers. It was like he was a nobody, and he would hang out at this club that all of the ultra rich people would go, and he wanted to be part of them. And it's how he like kind of pushed himself in, and someone took him under his wing and taught him how to be ruthless.
I did see a documentary about that, how the elites in New York, they didn't really think he was one of them, and he kind of forced them to acknowledge him through all of his actions, which is, I mean, those things I don't have a problem with.
Right.
But I don't know about this backstabbing thing.
It happened at the end. One of his good friends was sleeping with men on the side and ended up getting HIV during the time when there were no cures. And he had him stay in his house under like nursing or whatever. But one of the last scenes is he gave him like a fake ring and took the real one on his own. And Ivanka even told him, told his friend, Donald just trumped you, kind of thing.
Well, he could have still made the same accomplishments with being honorable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was watching that movie. Was it Bikers with Tom Hardy? They're like motorcycle bikers. And you know Tom Hardy, the actor?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite actors. So there's these kids. They want to get in his biker gang. They keep coming back, or they came up to him and they're like, "Hey, we want to be in your biker gang." They want to be in your biker gang.
The bike riders.
Is it the bike riders?
I think so.
That sounds right. And Tom Hardy and those guys said, get out of here, right? And the kid came back. He said, "Hey, we want to be in your gang, or maybe it was the first time. Anyways, I don't remember if it was the first time or second time that they came back. And he told the kid, he said, spoiler alert, he told the kid, he said, okay, it was like the leader of those kids. There was like 5 or 6 kids. He said, okay, you're in the gang. He said, really? He said, yeah. He said, but your friends aren't. You can come, but you have to leave your friends behind. And the kid looked back at his friends, or maybe he didn't, I don't remember. He said, I think he looked back at his friends. He said, okay. And Tom Hardy I think he just punched him in the face, and he just said, you never betray your friends. Like it was a lesson.
Right.
And the kid failed. And spoiler alert, that was the kid that you knew was going to happen when you watch it. That was the kid eventually in the end of the movie who killed Tom Hardy, but I just ruined it for you guys.
Oh, you ruined the entire thing.
That's when you watch it. You make an enemy, right? It happens in all the gay movies, the Italian movies, any of the gay movies. There's always the one guy you had a problem with who comes back to get you.
I'm just worried about who had their shirt off.
What happened? Oh, the bikers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would watch for.
You damn gay liberals. You damn gay. Always thinking of guys with their shirts off.
Right. Hey, that was a lot nicer than what you used to call me.
I never called you anything.
No,
bad.
you didn't.
No.
But I could see it on his face when he'd be sober and we wouldn't be when we were young. He'd show up and he'd be like, you know.
Michaela's mom is his cousin.
Yeah.
My daughter's mom is his cousin.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so, I remember when Michaela was conceived,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wasn't I'd never said anything.
No, you were just irritated with us, but we were probably irritating because I think they had something like Long Island iced teas on tap at the Paramount.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's dangerous.
And they didn't charge us most of the time. But yeah, so he'd show up and he'd have to go pick up my cousin, and he was never happy because he was sober and we weren't.
I'm not that much.
I know. No, I know that feeling though. You're with a group of people and they're all drunk and you're not, and you're just sober and you're like, all right, everybody just chill out.
Hey, that's my partner too, man. There are a lot of times when he had to pick me up, and so praise him.
I'm the guy who's usually looking for food, so I can find something. I can find something.
Right?
Yeah. You guys will be drinking, and I'll be looking. Where are the wings at?
Right?
Let me get some of them wings. Where's that elk burger at? That buffalo burger. Yeah, man. So, man, thanks for sharing and coming and talking. Do you have links or places where people can look up and see what you're doing?
Yeah. So my website is being created, but it's Tony, TONI 4 Colorado.com. And then MartinezMobileDental.com. So Tony for Colorado. My race isn't until April of 2027, so I started really early. So everything's just getting started. But you can always find me on Facebook. I'm not shy. I'm everywhere. So you can look up my name and you'll find me. But MartinezMobileDental@gmail.com is my email. I'll give everyone my phone number, 303-945-5231. Just don't call after 2 in the morning, and I'm good. I'll talk to anyone, anytime about anything. And if you need oral service to your location.
Come on, Antonio.
I think I just outpunned myself.
You got to be professional, man. You're trying to be a politician. You got to be professional, man.
Yeah, I also have to be real, and I think that's what some people are missing.
I like joking with them.
Oh, I know. No, and some people are going to tell me that, but I'm not going to not be myself because
I'm just joking. I love clowning around. I don't care.
I know. I'm good. But I know some politicos are probably listening because I posted that I was going to be on here. They're thinking, oh, my goodness. But no,
we are who we are.
We are who we are, and I'm not going to change who I am because then that defeats the purpose.
And that's more genuine than somebody who puts on a solid face and is not sincere.
Right. But yeah, if you need dental care, we are available and we can go to you. I do work at an office also. I'm not here to plug them, and I don't know if they'd want me to plug them, but I can give people help on getting resources, getting benefits, or getting dental care. I also know where you can go to get health care. My father now works at a nonprofit dental office that works with refugees, helping people get health care and dental care. So we have lots of resources available, and you just have to give me a phone call. Most people like to text. I'm a little more old-fashioned. Text me. It may take me a little longer to get back to you, but give me a call, and I usually answer right away. So 303-945-5231. Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me an audience that probably wouldn't always have access to my dialogue.
Anytime, Antonio. Thanks for coming. Great conversation.
Yeah.